Divine appointment. Do you believe that?
Yes.
You heard the call and you answered. And there's a great statement, before they call, I will answer. And while they're yet speaking, I will hear. I want you to know I have absolutely loved these themes about blessing. The art of blessing has been our theme for the entire month. And today we're going to talk about the art of blessing. On Thanksgiving Eve, I talked about blessing as a way of being in the world, but of a higher spiritual vibratory frequency. And today we're going to look that there is an art to blessing. That things are not always going to go the way we want them to go. Things are not always going to unfold the way we envisioned. But the truth is, there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. That's why we are here. And when it's 6:30 on the evolutionary clock, you know that you're pulled here. You may want to just turn over and not be here today, but something pulls you, something brings you. There's a force in the universe that unfolds, and it brings you here, and you find yourself in the seat. That your soul brought your body along, even though your body may have been a little resistant. Energetically, we know how that works. That you chose to be here in community, where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts as a synergistic mind of God arises. I keep doing what I am doing because I believe so deeply in these principles. That if one person gets it, I have not lived in vain. Because I want people to really embody, and I want to share what worked for me. And I started taking Science of Mind classes when I was 23 years old. And it was my savior. And I always knew that it didn't have to be that way in a family of origin, where there was alcoholism and there was domestic violence and there was incredible abuse. I knew that it didn't really have to be that way. And I would look at others and I would think, they are not living this way. And so that's what I really put my vision on. Living in peace, living in love, living in the energy that allows us to know that there is a greater expression of life and that we are a vital part of it. My daughter said to me one day, "Mother, I cannot even remotely relate to your childhood." And I said, and that is so good that you can't. I've done a good job then. I just pat myself on the back, because the sins of the first and second generations are visited upon the third and fourth. But so are the blessings of the first and second generations visited upon the third and fourth. That those blessings live on. The wonderful Catholic priest, Matthew Fox, who wrote the original blessing, who happened to be excommunicated for his views that he didn't believe in original sin. I shared this Wednesday night. He was excommunicated, but this book is so wonderful. It's called The Original Blessing. That we're conceived in love. We're given birth to this amazing energy of the universe. That we are loved. And as we express that love and we feel that love, whatever our challenges have been, whatever we have gone through, they are like the twinkling of an eye and return to their native nothingness from whence they came. So I would like to share something with you that I think is so profound. And you know, I don't generally read things, but I think this really deserves it, not to be paraphrased. And it comes from The Gentle Art of Blessing. This is by Pierre Prader-Vond, who is a marvelous, marvelous author. I have loved this book. I go back to it. I reread it. I underline it. I put stars beside little things I think I really want to go back to. And in The Gentle Art of Blessing, he has said, "On awakening, bless this day, for it is already full of unseen good, which your blessings will call forth. For to bless is to acknowledge the unlimited good that is embedded in the very texture of the universe, and awaiting each and all. Bless this day. On passing people in the street, on the bus, in places of work and play, bless them. The peace of your blessing will accompany them on their way, and the aura of its gentle fragrance will be a light unto their path. Bless them. On meeting and talking to people, bless them in their health, their work, their joy, their relationships to God, themselves and others. Bless them in their abundance, their finances. Bless them in every conceivable way. For such blessings not only sow seeds of healing, but one day will spring forth as flowers of joy in the waste places of your own life. Bless them. Bless them. As you walk, bless the city in which you live, its government and teachers, its nurses and street sweepers. Oh yes, its children and bankers, its priests and prostitutes. The minute anyone expresses the least aggression or unkindness to you, respond with a blessing. Bless them totally, sincerely, joyfully, for such blessings are a shield which protects them from the ignorance of their misdeed and deflects the arrow that was aimed at you. Bless them. Bless them. To bless means to wish unconditionally, total, unrestricted good for others and events from the deepest wellspring in the innermost chamber of your heart. It means to hallow, to hold in reverence, to behold with utter awe that which is always a gift from the Creator. He who is hallowed by your blessing is set aside, consecrated, holy, whole. To bless is yet to invoke divine care upon, to think or speak gratefully for, to confer happiness upon, although we ourselves are never the bestower, but simply the joyful witnesses of life's abundance. Bless them. Bless them. To bless all without discrimination of any sort is the ultimate form of giving, because those you bless will never know from whence came the sudden ray of sun that burst through the clouds of their skies, and you will rarely be a witness to the sunlight in their lives. So simply bless them. Bless them and the sunlight that strikes forth into their life. When something goes completely askew in your day, some unexpected event knocks down your plans, and you too also burst into blessing at that moment. For life is teaching you a lesson. And the very event you believed to be unwanted, you yourself called forth, so as to learn the lesson you might balk against were you not to bless it. Trials are blessings in disguise, and hosts of angels follow in their path. Bless every single event in your life. Bless to acknowledge the omnipresent universal beauty hidden to material eyes. It is to activate that law of attraction which from the furthest reaches of the universe will bring into your life exactly what you need to experience and enjoy. Enjoy the art of blessing. When you pass a prison, mentally bless its inmates in their innocence and freedom, their gentleness, pure essence, and unconditional forgiveness. For one can only be a prisoner of one's self-image, and a free man can walk unshackled in the courtyard of a jail, just as citizens of countries where freedom reigns can be prisoners when fear lurks in their thoughts. Bless them. Bless them. When you pass a hospital, bless its patients in their present wholeness, for even in their suffering, this wholeness awaits to them to be discovered. When your eyes behold a man in tears or seemingly broken by life, bless him in his vitality and joy. For the material senses present and are present, but the inverted image of the ultimate splendor of perfection, which only the inner eye beholds. Bless the inner eye that beholds the truth of being. It is impossible to bless and to judge at the same time. Think about it. It is impossible to bless and judge at the same time. So hold constantly as a deep, hallowed, intoned thought that desire to bless, for truly then shall you become a peacemaker, and one day you shall everywhere behold the very face of God. And of course, above all, don't forget to bless the utterly beautiful person that you are. Keep with the blessing of life. I am so deeply taken with this author, The Gentle Art of Blessing, that everything in our life is a blessing. That what we call bad and what we call good, it's all a blessing. Some are blessings in disguise. This week I was so moved by a documentary that I saw. It was called To Live and Become. It was about the Ethiopian Jews that were being exported out of the Sudan. And they were going through great persecution, great hardship, great famine. And they were dying in the thousands. The Israeli government, the secret police, created Operation Moses, in which they airlifted the Ethiopian Jews, which are said to be descendants of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. And through Operation Moses, escorted them off. One woman had 2 children. They had died in her arms. She had 1 son left. She was a Christian. She put a little necklace around him. It looked like a little tiger tooth. And she said, I want you to go with them. And he clung to his mother. And she said, go! And he clung. And she screamed, go! Live! Become! And in tears and weeping, a woman who lost her son, and this little boy's name was Solomon, and she had lost her son that day, named Shlomo. And she put her arm around him, and she coached him. She said, when the Israeli government asks you, what is your mother's name? What is your father's name? Your mother's name is Sarah. Your father's name is Solomon, your brother. And she went through the whole family of all the names that he was to say. Because suddenly, with the loss of her son, her 9-year-old son, this 9-year-old boy became her son in the twinkling of an eye in an instant. And as they were airlifted to Israel, the energy, the esoteric, the Hasidic Jews that practiced mystical energy of prayer in the temples, they were very welcomed. But by the general populace, they were not. They were not welcomed. And so Shlomo, who created this new identity for himself, looked out at the moon. And every time he saw the moon, he said, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And then he would embrace the little necklace that she had given to him. And he kept his highest thought to see his mother. And a couple of Sephardic, they were a Sephardic couple, they adopted Shlomo, Solomon. They had 2 children, and they adopted him. And the mother loved him, and they all loved him. But in his heart, this was not his true family. That he would look unto the moon and say, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And he kept this with him. And as his heart ached, and he began to grow, and he began to unfold, he began to embody Judaism. And he went to the Ethiopian, he was like a holy man from Ethiopia, who said that when he left Ethiopia, his wife was killed, his sons were killed, and he wept. And he said the only thing was saved was this. And he opened this amazing book, and it had fabric around it, lots of fabric, and it was the Torah. That he had saved, he had managed to save the Torah. And he said, this has been the blessing of my life, because I know my loved ones are always with me, but I feel the pain of the separation of those I loved greatly. And then Solomon, Shlomo, began to share his story about his brother passing, because he paid 3 cents to get some water in the camp. And the boys, the gang said he didn't, and there was a fight that broke out, and he died. His sister died. He said, I was the only one left, and my mother threw me out, and she said, go live and become. I don't know what go live and become means. What does go live and become mean? I want to write my mother a letter. And so he wrote and dictated a letter. And the old, beautiful Ethiopian Jew wrote it out. And every week they would send letters to his mother. Never a response, never a reply to this particular camp that he would always send to. But that hope, the energy, we know that hope springs eternal in the human heart. That energetically, that we move into hope when things look hopeless. That then we move into belief when things seem absolutely unbelieving. Then we move into faith when we have been faithless. And then out of that becomes the knowingness where not even the gates of hell should prevail against us. because we know that we know that we know. And this young man and the love of this family decided that he was going to be a doctor. And he went to Paris and he studied and he came back. And he was helping those that were not for the Israelis, the Palestinians. And an Israeli said, "Don't help them, help your own." And he said, "They are all my own." He got it about his own oneness. He got it. And so there was something in the temple called the controversies. And he had his eye on a particular young lady, and he wanted to impress her because his father said he's not a Jew. He's just one of the hungry Ethiopians who came over to this country to take advantage of Israel. And so he stood in front of the controversies, and the young man, the first young man, recited and he shared about, the question was, what was the color of Adam? And he shared that Adam was white, just as God was white. And he went into his debate, and he made his point, and he sat down and got great applause. And then Solomon stood up slowly, and he said, "What is the color of God? What is the color of Adam? What is the color?" And God created Adam out of the earth and the water. Adam was clay. And God breathed life into this clay, this red clay. And Adam arose. And as Adam arose, he was red from the red earth and the water and the clay. Adam was red. And when he looked at the moon and he was bewildered, he realized that God was disguised as the moon, there to protect him and watch over him. Adam was red. Adamo in Hebrew means earth. The earth and the water, the clay. And each of us is made from this clay, no matter what color we are in the outer. White, black, yellow, or red. We all have the red blood that flows through us. We are all one. In this oneness is a blessing. This young man went to Ethiopia. He was treating all the children. He was a doctor. At 9 years old, he was shoved out of a camp and said, "Go and become." And as he looked around and got this telephone call from the young lady that he was trying to impress, who was now his wife, and on the other end of the line said, "Say daddy, say daddy, say daddy." And he looked at the sun, "Say daddy." And as he looked out, he saw a woman. And this woman was his mother, that when he looked at the moon and said, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," there she was. And he went to her and he showed the necklace, and she let out such a scream of "My son, my son, my son," that the blessing and the energy of the most amazing experiences that we could possibly have turn into the blessing of the soul, the energy of the soul, that regardless of what it is that we have experienced in our life, that there is a blessing. And as we begin to open to that blessing and move through our grief and come out on the other side, I believe with the Bodhisattva that we begin to enter this world at a place as the Bodhisattva with healing, helping hands. Because I can only bless you as I feel blessed within myself. And once I heal my own issues, once I begin to open to the truth that sets me free, then I become a blessing. You become a blessing. And we all become an amazing blessing. And we look unto the moon and unto the sun and feel that energy of Divine Father standing on our right side and Divine Mother at our left side. And that we give birth to our life, which is an absolute blessing as we open to the truth that sets us free. And as I greet you today, I greet you with a profound blessing and the knowingness that we have opened the space for our miracles. I say God bless you, I love you, and you are the greatest blessing. We are the greatest blessing, and that makes all the difference. God bless you, and know that we are what? Going higher.